Hey, welcome back to Mike's Trains. Thanks for joining me for this next video in the series of building my train station. In this video, I want to go back and I want to take out the rest of the turnouts that don't belong in this whole setup here, and I want to put in what does belong. So what I want to do is I want to take out this turnout and replace it with a straight track. I have two more turnouts down at this end to take out, and then I have a couple turnouts to put in as well as a crossover. So why don't we tackle that in this video and get that done with. So here's how we're going to get started. So let's start with this turnout right here. It's pretty straightforward. To take that out, all we have to do is decide where at the end of this turnout and the front of this turnout where we want to cut it. And I'm going to leave myself enough room to get a decent sized piece of track in here. So I'm going to cut it back here, and again the flat side of the cutters to the side we're saving. And put this down in here. I'm going to cut it here. And there's really no need to measure because I'm just replacing it with a piece of straight track. Now I have a lift up right here for some reason. I don't know why that happened, but it raises up right here. So I'm going to cut it beyond that just a little bit. So we're going to cut it here and here. So now that turnout is free to come out. Now I do have a switch motor going into the turnout right here. I'm not going to get rid of that just yet. I have to go underneath and unbolt that. But what I am going to do is just get down underneath it and loosen it and pull it right up. And it should come out pretty easy without too much trouble. And then we want this other lead from the turnout to come out. So that's the first turnout's gone. Now we just need to pull up this track over here. And I'm looking and I'm seeing that I believe I have a feeder in here. So I have to cut these feeders out. We'll just poke this back down. Okay, so the feeders are out. Now I want to scrape this out. Okay, so now that turnout's gone, I'm just going to go underneath, and you probably can't see it, but there's a small wire down there. there's a small wire right there that goes to my switch motor, and I'm gonna need to go underneath right here and pull this wire out. I'm gonna take down the tortoise machine underneath, and that'll get rid of this wire, and then we can get this ready to put in a new piece of track right here. So let me get that machine out, and then we'll come back and we'll get this set up and put another piece of track in. Okay, so the switch machine is out. This is what was under there, and I had to get this out of here because the wire was poking through. And we don't need it in here any longer, so this is gone. And then before I turn the camera back on, I pulled out a couple of ties right here and right in here. So now we have space to put the rail joiners in on either side. And then I'm going to use a piece of flex track that I salvaged from everything that I tore out, and we're going to take a good chunk of this and we're going to fit this right in just as a piece of straight track. So what I want to do, this has all stuff under it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a good section of this. So I'm going to cut back, let's say right here to right here. So we're going to keep this section, and I want to scrape off anything off the back that, you know, doesn't belong. All of this stuff here. This is some of the cork that came up when I scraped up the track. So let's see how much of this really needs to be cleaned up. So we're going to fit this right up to here, and we're going to cut this over here. I'm going to cut it just a little bit long. Now I know what needs to get cleaned up, so now I'll just go back through and just scrape off all of this extra track, all this extra cork off of here. Okay, so now we've got this. Now I see I'm missing a couple of the end ties here, just on the edge on the side here. So I'm going to trim off on that end of it. We put this up tight here, see, and we'll end up cutting off most of that, so that's not going to be a problem. So we want to trim this off. Actually, let me cut off a couple of the ties first. I'm just going to cut off the rest of these ties here. Like this. That way I can get in there with the cutters and not have to worry about it. There we go. So now we're going to take the cutters and cut the final length. Fit this back in once again, and that fits in. There's a small gap in there, and that'll be fine, and that'll fit right in like that. Okay, so now I want to cut off more ties on each end of this so that we have room for the rail joiners. I usually just do 2 ties, should be fine. just like that. So we have a couple ties missing here, a couple here, and then we fit it in. We end up with this small gap like that, and it should work out just fine, and that'll fit right in there. So now I just need to get some rail joiners, and we can put that together, as well as a little bit of caulk underneath here just to hold it all down. So let me get some rail joiners and I'll be back. Okay, so I ain't gonna lie to you, these rail joiners are a pain. They give me the hardest time getting them in. So I did this end off camera, and I have two more here, and I'm just gonna bend this track up just a little bit and fit this into here like this, and hopefully it all works like that. Now I'm just going to split, there's a small gap, so I'm just going to split the difference between the two sides. Like that. Okay, and then that one is in. Now I just need to spread a little bit of caulk underneath and weight it, and it's done. Okay, so now I just need some caulk. Let me go get that, and we'll get that put in. Okay, so I have the caulk now, and I'm just gonna squeeze out a little bit, and I have a piece of scrap foam here. Just a little bit. We don't need a lot of it. Even that's 3 times more than I need. And then we're going to take the putty knife. Just a little bit is all you need. And I'm going to spread this underneath the track piece. Doesn't need to be a lot. You don't want it coming up through the ties and making all kind of mess, and that should be pretty good, like that. I'm just going to clean up the edges, and now I'm going to throw a piece of something on top of that with some weight. Okay, so I'm just going to throw this on top. It's a small block I use, my hammering block, and then we'll throw a small weight on top of that, and that should hold that down really good. And then we'll let that sit and dry. So now this turnout is gone. We added the other one in the last video. Now to finish this end, we have one more turnout to put in at this end of the whole layout. Okay, so the next turnout we're going to do, I'm not sure if you can, yeah. So the next turnout we're going to do, okay, so last video we put this turnout in, and this was the lead that goes up in my expansion track here, and this actually I think I may turn into some sort of a programming track maybe, but anyway, this first turnout's in here now, and then we took out that turnout. Now the next turnout that needs to go in is the one that goes right here to go up into the new yard. So we need a turnout to go there, and I need a right hand turnout for that. Let's find one here. Yeah. So this turnout right here is going to go in here. And I don't want it tight to this turnout. We don't need to be that close. And the further this way I bring it, the better off we're going to be, and the more room into this service area I'll have. So I have a curve right here, just a very slight curve, so we can't go into that. But I'm thinking maybe like right here we can throw this turnout in. maybe we'll back it up just a little bit. Maybe like this. Like right here. We can throw that right in there, and that brings us up into our yard lead over here. So we'll bring it a little bit further. We'll go right here. And I'm not going to trim the tail of this turnout. We don't need to. It fits full length. I'm not going to worry about it. So same as the straight track, I'm gonna trim off the back where I want to put it. So that's going to be this one right here, and this right here. Okay, so now the back end is cut. So now we need to cut the front end. And I need my pencil right here. Okay, so I have my pencil. I can see my track cuts are right here. Back up to those. And then we're going to mark off the front cuts. Right there and right there. So now, turn these flat side, we're keeping that. We're going to go right in here, cut that here and here. Okay? Same as before, go in under the piece of track, no putty knife. It looks like that's going to fit fine. Like that. Pull this back here. That fits in there just like that. Okay. And then on the turnout, we don't need these control sections on this side because that's the inside. I'm just going to take my cutters here and I'm going to go right up to it. And I'm going to snip that off like that. Okay, so now we have another turnout ready to go in. And once again with the rail joiners, now this track got pulled and it shouldn't have, it's a little bent, but once I get the rail joiner in there and we hook this back up, we should be fine. Should be fine. But that's just a casualty of rehabbing whatever you got going on, and that's my fault. And what can I do? We'll make it work. So now back to my least favorite part is adding the rail joiners. But before we do that, I got to pull out ties here. Now what I've been using for that, if you're curious, this is a paint can opener, has a little hook on one end. It works awesome for getting in here and pulling out rail ties, just like that. I'm going to do the same on this side. Okay, so now the rail joiners. Okay, so now I've got a piece of wood with the weight on top to distribute it a little more evenly. We have that turnout done and this turnout done. So now all the entry points into our new train yard are in place. Everything with the main line on this end is complete. So from here we move down to the other end and start taking care of that stuff. And this will dry. This will take maybe an hour or two before that's dried up and I can go on, but we won't hit that now. So I think that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, visit my website. It's mikestrains.wordpress.com. There's always stuff going on over there. I have my videos there, but I also do updates. I work on my father's trains as well. So take a look if you haven't already, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Always glad to have more people watching. So until next time, happy modeling.